when I designed BankX, I looked into 5 categories, which I thought were important, and then designed around those categories. The first is how centralized it is. So is there an entity or company that could be captured? Like say a company could be taken over either through bankruptcy or regulators. And that also speaks to, is the collateral centralized? Like, we don't store silver in a vault. We track the price of silver, but it's decentralized crypto on a decentralized blockchain that's actually backing it. So even though we peg to silver, we're not storing any silver in a vault, so to speak. So that whole idea of the centralization aspect was an important category. So if we just step back and look back at what the Federal Reserve Bank is doing, it's centralized. It has no value behind the fiat currency. They're printing it out of thin air. They're charging interest. So it's everything for their benefit. So what we did was to go the opposite way with BankX, where it's decentralized. You own the collateral. You're creating the currency. You're earning the interest. Where you're in complete control of everything. You know, there is no bank that holds this. I don't have the ability to get to your collateral, and then you're earning the interest as it continues in circulation.
BankX seems to me like the most decentralized possible way. Like is that your staple innovation of you own the collateral?
Yes, I mean it's all about the way we've designed it is to be where everything is in the hands of the individual. So it's just you, your wallet,
full freedom,
and the blockchain.
Full control.
Right, absolutely. And so when you look at the 5 categories that we'll talk about, you'll see that everything was always slanted towards you're in charge, you're in complete control, it's full autonomy to do what you like with your assets, your cryptocurrency, and being able to design, you know, the sort of financial life that you're looking to do. Where others and middlemen and people who sort of glob on in the financial industry, they're the ones that are, you know, earning interest and doing all these other things to be able to benefit themselves rather than the actual person that owns it, right? So we talked about the centralization aspect. I think the second area is the collateral type or no collateral, which we've touched upon with Terra Luna. So if there's no collateral, I think that's one of the worst designs of a stablecoin. Then you get into what's the collateral? Is it a US dollar? Well, that's sort of just pushing it a little, you know, like, oh, with a dollar behind it, but then you still have sort of the issues with the dollar. You have companies like Tether and USDC, where it's not only a dollar, which I think has some big problems with inflation, so they're printing that out of oblivion. And then you have a bank that is centralized, holding the dollars that are backing the stablecoin. So you might have seen, I think it was last year, where Silicon Valley Bank failed or went bankrupt, and they had a significant amount of deposits of USDC. So there was a moment last year where USDC lost the peg because of that. So that whole centralization aspect, I think, is sort of showed itself there with the bank failure, basically there.
It's a weakness, and also it's a concern in terms of freedom, autonomy, and it being not something that can be controlled from a centralized position.
Right. It's always centralization, I think, always leads to trouble. I think we touched upon that.
I think that's what we're learning in every aspect.
So it could be captured, you know, so USDC potentially could be captured or absorbed into the government and become a CBDC potentially. I mean, that's what could be how it goes. So it did serve its purpose early on, Michael, to I think really propel crypto to where it is now. But you never know if there's manipulation. Like, are they printing Tether and buying Bitcoin? You know, is that causing some run up? You just never know, right? Because they could be just doing things like that. So
right, they're books. It's not a completely open source system that you can look into everything, or is it supposed to be? Because there is questions of Tether, right? And if they have all the USD that they claim they do.
There is definitely. They sign attestations, but we just don't know. Where I think USDC might have a little more auditing going. I'm not sure. I haven't dug into that piece of it. So there's this other aspect of Tether and USDC and other sort of USD-backed stablecoins where they're holding your dollars in their account. So what they do is go and buy T-bills. And I believe it was Tether is making around $4 billion a year on interest, right? So we get into another category is who's earning the interest off of your collateral. And then how can you decentralize that? Or is there even any sort of passive income strategies? So we do a very unique thing with how we pay interest that's never been done, in that we inflate the BankX token to pay you interest in the form of BankX tokens. This actually has a positive effect to the token supply of BankX. So we were able to bring an economic principle that was learned in the market from a protocol called HEX, which is a certificate of deposit. So there's a lot of math in the HEX system, but essentially when you own the HEX token, you lock it up or stake it. And for that, they inflate the currency to pay you rewards for staking. So much like Bitcoin inflates its currency to pay miners for validating the network, what HEX does is pay you for staking. So what was very interesting was they inflate the HEX token 3.69% per year to pay everyone that stakes. And what they found was that they were getting a 9.8% staking rate. So 9.8% of the supply was being staked each year on average, while they were inflating at 3.69% to pay those stakers.
So people were re-staking their HEX coins.
Right. Everything was looked at average. I think their average stake is 6 years. But when they looked at the average of what is the percentage of the supply that's being staked and what are we inflating the currency to pay those stakers, and the staking rate was higher than the inflation rate. So that difference is what I call a net deflationary effect. So inflating the currency to pay the right behavior actually creates a deflationary token supply, or a virtual deflationary token supply. So what we've done is to create the XSD stablecoin, you use a combination of the native blockchain token, let's say that's Ethereum, and the BankX token. So you're locking up Ethereum and BankX. So like you said in the beginning, this is a lot like staking, Lance, right? So you're staking BankX as a part of the collateral. So Ethereum and BankX are in the collateral pool. You're effectively staking BankX. So you're locking it up the same way that HEX is. So we can inflate the currency to incentivize that behavior, which is lock up BankX and Ethereum and create the stable coin. And, after that same economic principle that HEX has proven.
It's very cool. It's a very cool development in the crypto world. Just thinking about how that it's incentive. The progression of that is really cool, and it's using free market incentive basically, right? It's the same.
Yeah.
The closer you get to free market, real, true, free association, free market, Milton Friedman principles, the better kind of behavior you get.
So another category is this idea of price stabilization. So how does that happen? Is it just you sort of back it with a dollar like Tether, and so everyone knows there's a dollar there, so it trades really tightly around a dollar because there's no reason to buy above something where you're only going to get a dollar. Why pay about $1.10 for it? Or why would you sell it for 90 knowing that you could just redeem it for $1? So the things to look at, I think are in sort of this category was I looked at all of the ways that the stablecoin could maintain the peg, and we copied a lot of the ways that other protocols were using. That's probably more of in the line of a masterclass to go through kind of all those methods, but there's 4 key methods that we use, and they've all been proven in the market by the protocols that we're talking about now. And so that was a key category. I thought what was interesting was, what is the peg? So we purposely chose a gram of silver because we did not want to, with the runaway inflation, want to peg it to $1. But we do in the system use the dollar as the unit of account. So everything is expressed in dollars, but we do not track the value is going to move along with the price of silver. So I think that's a key aspect of the system. So the design of this was looking at what were positives and negatives of protocols in the market, and choosing what was the best design based on decentralization, and individual freedom, and even down to how we pay the interest, right? So when you look at a protocol like Celsius, they had a bunch of treasury, and they got over their skis as far as trying to produce return. And I think he probably did some things that probably wasn't wise and went bankrupt. So you have a central authority managing those crypto assets, and it went bad. So we don't have any involvement in generating revenue for the people who locked up crypto to create the stablecoin. That's all done and by that economic principle that Hex has shown us. And that's been out 3 or 4 years. And so that was a very interesting thing to see. Being an economics major from George Mason University, you're seeing like real time economic principles being proven and disproven in crypto. So it's pretty crazy to be involved and see it kind of like right on the edge of, of what it's showing. So it's pretty interesting.
You're right.
So,
it's these kind of trends that used to happen over decades. You're seeing these huge shifts in. Yeah, it's awesome.
Oh, very quick.